Go over some HTML and just my learning process and the way that I learned web development, just as another resource for you guys, because the way that I learned was just watching a bunch of different YouTube videos and reading things online, going through W3 Schools, Free Code Camp, and eventually Code Wars. So ideally, I'm just going to put some content together just as another resource for you guys to hopefully help fill in some of those gaps that you guys may have questions with. And with that being said, let's get started. So I'm just gonna do this more like in a freestyle version and just kind of like my thought process over the way that some of this stuff works. So as always, I would just get started by opening up this right here in VS Code. Um, and then just come in here and simply go on index.html and starting out with some boilerplate HTML. So right here, just an exclamation point using the Emmet AI built inside of VS Code and pressing enter. That'll give us that boilerplate code, but nonetheless, it's really important to understand and to break down some of the concepts that are happening here just with this getting started. So let's take a look here. So this is doc type HTML. This is letting the document itself know what this is going to be. This index HTML, this is what the web browser automatically is looking for, and this is just the web standard. You can find more things like this if you go to the MDN docs. These are going to be your best friend along with the way that I learned was W3 Schools, as well as Free Code Camp, Free Code Camp. It's .org. Okay, that's what I thought. So yeah, just get started. It's free, and then just literally, just going through, just going through the lessons, starting out with HTML, and it's very important to learn HTML uh, before moving on to say CSS or JavaScript. But sometimes going forward can definitely be a good thing to get started with. However, I oftentimes see a lot of people just wanting to rush straight into like React, and you really need to have a very, very good understanding of what's going on here, as well as a very, very good understanding of CSS. Before moving on to JavaScript, and you need to have a very good understanding of JavaScript before moving on to React. That's just the way the process goes. And if you don't understand everything here, you really will have a tough time in further technologies. So this is required, as you can see. And just going through and just reading these MDM docs are going to be your best friend. So just like this, understanding that, going down the rabbit hole, clicking on these and finding out, why the heck can I put um, literally anything in anything? Can I go like, I can go class and I can call this heading and then I can throw an ID and I can say first heading. And notice here, uh, all lowercase just by convention so that I know what's going on. And this is the way that it's preferred. We can do something like this. It My AI automatically capitalized it. Um, you can do this, but you see prettier. This is my formatter, which I would definitely recommend you guys getting as well. This helped me out immensely when I was learning how to code. Not having prettier, I spent a lot of time focusing on the structure and the way that these elements would be placed inside of other elements. For example, if you just do something like this and then like this, uh, you know, making sure that every single thing is spaced out correctly and um, like this, like this, like this, like this. Just having that being able to automatically format whenever you save is going to be a big help to you guys. So right here, it's just prettier, and having that enabled is going to be a good friend for you guys to start out, so you guys can focus on the things that you need to and not things that you don't need to. But anyway, these are called attributes. And again, it's just going to be learning all of these different types of terminologies and getting into these things here. Um, that's gonna be your best friend and uh, learning to start out. It's like very basic stuff. Just my initial thought process, but let's learn by actually building something. And I know that I said that this is going to be primarily focused on HTML, and it is, but this is what we're going to cover in this video. And keep in mind that this is a project that I built for something else, and this is not mobile responsive, but it does have some mobile responsive attributes and something that you could honestly build on. Because I cover a lot of concepts in just this project here, just as far as like the smooth scrolling goes and stuff like that. So it would be a good just starter, and honestly, it can get uh, cooler yet. So let's go ahead and develop this little project. You guys are gonna want to get these little images here. Maybe get your own um, get your own image, and yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So another thing that I would definitely recommend getting is going to be this live server here. So what this is going to do is this is going to um, automatically uh, change as you save your content, right? So instead of having to save and then come back over here and refresh your browser to uh, see a change be reflected, what this is going to do is this is going to automatically um, refresh this browser for you on save. So it saves you a step and is very convenient because it does get very annoying saving your stuff and then literally having to refresh every single time you want to see an update. So now that we got some of that out of the way, so this HTML is going to be basically what your doc type is reading. In my case, the language is set to English. However, this is not something that is required. You can get by with just that right there, and the browser is going to be able to read that. Nonetheless, my language convention that I'm using is English, so that's what we're going to do. This HTML is wrapped, or has these head tags right next, and then it's the body. So what these head tags are going to do is this is going to contain the meta information. This is going to be using charset UTF-8. What that is, okay, we can just go back here, right? This is what you're going to want to do. Charset, maybe it's just UTF-8. Let's look it up. What is it? Okay. It's the most common character in coding. Okay. So this is where things can oftentimes get confusing when you're just trying to like understand all this, but nonetheless, uh, you do, and you're going to be way, way further along and seeing it from a few different lenses and understanding it from a few different guides. That's going to be again your best friend. So it's using these things in combination with one another as well as just playing around. And that's just going to be your best way um, to learning all this stuff and just learning by doing. So if you're just watching this video, I recommend that you don't do that because I spent a lot of time just watching videos, and you're going to need to put your hands on the keyboard, and understanding the concepts and the fundamentals of these things is great, but it doesn't mean anything if you can't actually just walk inside of a browser and start to punch in code accordingly. What this viewport is going to do is this is going to set your initial Vice's width and scale, and that is how you're going to make your websites mobile responsive. So, mobile first approach is definitely the new standard of the web, and that is going to be the way that you're going to want to develop these things for marketing purposes in mind, because that is just what people most often use is an iPhone and they use Safari. That's just the analytics that are behind the websites that I developed. It shows that most people use an iPhone and most people are on Safari. And we can get into some of the nuances that may come with that later. But also within these meta tags is where you're going to want to put things like SEO. So let's just make one here as an example. So what is this one? How does this one go? It goes like this. No, I think it is. I think it's name. So your name is going to be like your description. And this is what's going to show up on Google. And then the content of that description is, hello, my name is Lucas Keller. I'm developing this website for a YouTube tutorial. Awesome. Okay, so that's like literally what's going to appear on Google. And then again, for SEO, that's a real big thing. What is this going to be? This is going to be for keywords. What are the keywords that you want to appear? We're going to say web, and comma separated, development, and spell, develop, develop. Maybe I could spell it. All right, my brain's doing like five things right now. I don't know. We say like what? Oh, right. Okay, yeah, that's about right. It just looked weird. Okay. Anyway, the title of your document here, as you can see right here, this is document. Under each one of these pages, this is going to be like this, like that, right? So let's just do the title that I used in mine. And for my case, I just did something simple and called it portfolio, you know? Um, yeah, so heck yeah. So, and you can also uh, continue to get deeper and deeper inside of these meta tags. But again, uh, not to sound like a broken record, this right here is going to be your best friend. And this will give you all of the uh, ways that you can insert um, meta tags, everything like that. And just by Googling browsing forums, I use Brave browser. Brave browser now has what is a meta tag in HTML. Brave browser now has um, like the ability to just give you this. I mean, come on, that is ridiculous. And then if you want to go down further, this one is actually above the meta doc, so it probably gives you something great. So I also would recommend looking on Overflow, looking at like Medium articles is a really good thing. Just by like your search results, I've put together a couple Medium articles that are probably more in depth, and I may be referencing them throughout this video as well. But yeah, that's just going to be the way of the future. And another thing is too, and not to just be like solely reliant or dependent on it, is using ChatGPT. So if you're using ChatGPT and you're just having this thing just like punch out uh, like code for you, you're gonna run into so many bugs and you're gonna be running into so many different uh, issues, right? And your code. That's why it's just so important that you understand the fundamentals here of what's going on. If you're just gonna use ChatGPT, you're gonna waste so much more time and so many more hours trying to debug your code than what is entirely necessary. If I go in here and I specifically ask, how do I create a meta tag for an author within the head of my HTML document, right? Let's see what it gives me. Create a meta tag within the head, right? Examples. So boom. Okay, cool. Awesome. So just as we can see within the boilerplate, and this is something super, 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 super simple, guys. Like this is next to next to nothing. So yeah, it can punch that out for me. So um, that's going to be, oh, whoops, Command Z is also going to be your best friend, as you can see. Alt, back, back, and also just like Command deletes the whole line, Command Z puts it back, Command S allows me to save. Going through some of those additional shortcuts. So if I go Shift, Command, right arrow highlights the whole row, and then I simply take my finger off of the Command key. I press down on the Alt and I push down arrow. Boom, duplicates the line for me. So now I want to make this something else. Um, Whatever, nothing comes to mind right now. It doesn't matter. So then, you know, save it that way. Um, that's going to be another thing to help uh, speed up your development process, or just like using the hotkeys, pushing the Alt tag, Alt, Alt, and then just going Command. It can delete all those rows for me, and then I just click off to get the cursor off. Command Z puts it back. Some basic concepts inside of the head, and we can definitely come back to that. Now we're going to be focusing on the body, and whatever's inside of the body tags is going to be what is inside of your guys's document. So the browser window contains the the document. So I believe, is it like this? Uh, yeah, it doesn't like that, I guess. Okay, so there you go. Okay, there you go. Perfect. Right there, as you can see. So the window object uh, is basically the outer browser itself, and the window object, as you can see, this is capitalized, showing that it's a JavaScript object. What is it, like 98% of the web or some stat like that is built using JavaScript. However, the markup or what the browser is reading, it all comes down to HTML. And inside of this JavaScript object, as you can see, it's literally just a simple JavaScript object. It contains this thing called the document. Okay, and that's basically how we're going to be able to manipulate HTML in CSS later on. But for right now, it's just important to understand that this is your document, this is your body, this is what the people are going to be viewing and seeing, right? So this information here, this helps out the browser, this helps out like the search engine, this helps out your device, as your device is reading what it is and things like that. Um, but this is what, you know, that's that's it's the money shot, that's what people are going to be viewing, so people are going to be seeing. Um, so let's get started. So the new way to develop inside of HTML is by using semantics. So by structuring things using article, using aside, things like that, where before um, people just pretty much used div elements. And it's important to understand the difference of these elements and what they actually are. See, it, blah, 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 which is intended to be reusable examples. Well, anyway, this is just going to help your browser and screen readers and things like that just really understand what it is versus it just being like div, 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 div. These still work in the same ways as divs, as you can just provide them a class just like you can anything else. They are block. So it's very important also to understand the difference between block and inline. That is going to help you understand um, the way that the structure of your page actually flows. So basically, block element, let's just do a fun little example. So let's just give this one a class, and let's give this one a class of red, and let's give this thing a style tag, and let's just say that we're gonna say border, and then we're gonna say solid because that's how it has to start out. Or if you want to start it out, you can say 5 pixels. By default, it's like 1.5 pixels. So we're going to say solid red. And because that's something that um, is red, we can totally do that. And if you wanted to, you could go hashtag. You could go 00. What is it like? I'm not sure. Let's try like FF 00. Oh, that gives us blue. Oh, that gives us green. What's the one for standard red? FF and then all zeros. Okay. Inside of your IDE, your code editor, VS Code has this feature that's literally awesome. I prefer hexadecimal characters. And then as soon as you start to apply some opacity or some transparency, it applies what is an alpha character at the end. So we bring this back up, you can see that it goes away. And immediately once I bring it down, it applies those alpha characters to the end. So hexadecimal are 6. If we go to hue, saturation, light, hue, saturation, light, you can see that that's also given some different values there, and then immediately applying this alpha character, or this alpha transparency, opacity, whatever you want to call it, is going to provide that. Click it again. Oh, what is this one? What is it? Well, let's take a look here. What is H? What is HWB? Yeah, that one there. Um, color space, hue, whiteness, and blackness. Okay, this is one that I clearly don't use that often, but nonetheless, if you, oh, see it throws in a slash there, so that's the syntax that it wants. See, it's just a different structure. Ultimately, does the same thing. But okay, I like this ability right here. And then RGB, that's another very standard one. That's just going to stand for red, green, blue. So this is the amount of red, the amount of green, the amount of blue. As you can see, we're given, yeah, and as we shift that, give it all green. There you go. Give it all blue. There you go. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. So anyway, as you can see, this right here is a block element because it's taking up the entire space by default. That's just the way it flows. And if I'm gonna add something on the inside of this, you can see that it flows actually to the inside of the box model. What is the box model? So let's go back here and take a look. Where do I find the box model at? Hmm, clearly not right here where I was looking for it or hoping that it would be. Uh, Nonetheless, the outside of this is going to be margin. So if we apply some margin or take that margin away, what it's going to do is it's going to automatically push that in. So as you can see, it's saved, it changed, let's change this back. There you go. And let's make this more noticeable. So let's make it 50 pixels. So what it does is it applied 50 pixels here, it applied 50 pixels here, it applied 50 pixels here, and you don't see it yet, but it did apply 50 pixels on the bottom again. So now that's margin. So notice how it's taking effect to the outside of this container. So now let's say I want to add something like padding. And let's just say I want to add 5 pixels of padding. And I do that, and notice how it applied the padding to the inside of the container. So it actually pushed the padding um, to the inside, and to make that more noticeable again, you can see the way that this thing flows. Okay, so now we want to actually apply it to this heading container, and this heading container is actually an inline element. So notice how we have a block, we have inline. We also have inline block. That's typically what's going to be on a button because it's just typically how that works. But nonetheless, let's do the same thing here as we did before. And let's give this a border. And this time, let's just go solid and let's just leave it at that. Okay. So we apply that, and notice it's going to apply the default border around this, which is about 1.5 pixels. It automatically gives it a black border. And this is the only thing that you need. So oftentimes when I'm developing, I'll just go like solid red Okay, and then just so that I can differentiate each one, I'll do like solid line, solid blue, etc. Okay, but nonetheless, this is going to be inline. So let's uh let's create some paragraph. This is text, save that, and it just uh it just flows. I guess it's just the way it flows. I don't have a better way of under explaining it. Uh, Actually, I'm gonna go to the AI for this one. Block versus inline. And again, boom, W3 schools. You can pop that open in a new tab. They're gonna have perfect right here. So that's kind of given the same. See boom, see boom. All right. And then notice how these are the block level elements. So we have address, we have article, we have a side, and we have all these different things here. So we have header. This is going to be for semantics, not to be confused. Oh, these are block elements. Okay, so I was explaining it wrong. So whoever quit on me there was fed bad information, and I apologize about that. Um, anyway. Oh, okay, okay. Beautiful. Well, anyway, these are usually inline block. There we go. So like your span tag, things like that. Okay, but we can also change these so they don't have to be inline. And maybe I just have my default stuff that I do set up so that headings are inline. I don't know. Maybe I did something like that in my default CSS. So, but you can always hit this with a display, and instead of displaying block, we can have it display inline. Perfect. That's what we wanted to see right there instead. So, as you can see here, this is an inline element, and maybe we just do the same thing for this paragraph, and maybe it'll help us out. So we have style. And some of you guys who are WordPress developers, Shopify developers, a lot of like clients that I've got on Upwork have basically just wanted to know, why the heck am I not able to style my WordPress website beautifully? Why the heck is this thing popping over here? Why is it thrown over here? Why is this text working here, but why are like these images not able to work like this, and et cetera, et cetera? Well, even if we have these displayed as inline elements, see how it pops this up to the side? So basically, that's what you need to know. Your inline elements are going to flow on the document from left to right, like so, where as your div elements or your block elements are going to basically be stacked up on top of one another. So if we just throw this right here, and again, I'm going to go Shift, Alt, down arrow, copy that whole thing, give that a save. See how this is throwing this next to it, and um, it's not throwing it to the side. Well, if I were to come back up here and remember that you can throw an attribute on just about anything, right? So gotta do this correctly as my brain is flying, obviously. Just to try to put this tutorial together to show people that this is what I do all day long, supposedly. Well, anyway, I didn't do it for whatever reason. Okay. Anyway, not gonna worry about that. Huh. Strange. Why would that not? Oh, I'm sure that there's something underneath, and you guys can let me know in the comments why um, I'm wrong on that, and I'll do some research. I'll do some research on that. I appreciate that. You guys are looking at me like, wow, this guy's putting together a tutorial. All right, beautiful. Well, anyway, that's what you need to know. And then going forward, instead of this being something like margin, right, we can also in the future for uh, styling um, mobile first, we could go margin block. Uh, block end. No, block start. What is going on? So block start ain't with it. Apparently that is block end. Yeah, that should be the same thing. However, it's not. Interesting. Well, we can get into that later, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, stop here so I can gather my thoughts. Because I know that for me as a beginner, not every video is able to explain everything again. I'm just doing this so that, yeah, hopefully, I mean, this is another resource that can just help you guys out. And if I'm going over anything and you guys do have any questions, just feel free to leave those in the comments below, and then I'll respond accordingly. And if you guys do want any one-on-one help, I will do that in a Zoom meeting. What I typically charge is 50 to 75 bucks for a Zoom call, but if you guys want, for watching this video, I will do it for 30 bucks. So 30 bucks, give you guys a half hour. I'll be able to explain the concepts and maybe even further if you guys want to do that. So now let's go ahead and apply a UL. What does this mean? This is an unordered list, and inside of an unordered list, you can contain li tags. And this is a list, so like this could contain, you know, milk. This could contain eggs and bread, like a list, right? And it'll give you this, and it's not ordered. So if I were to switch this to one of those, say it will totally break. But if I switch to that, it's automatically gonna apply these one, two, three characters to that. And if you wanted to get even deeper, you can apply Roman numerals, you can apply capital Roman numerals and things like that. Again, just go back to the documents. But in our case, we're trying to build a nav browser, as you would see, and say like any website. This is one that I developed from scratch, from the ground up. Completely designed it before it looked absolutely terrible. And nonetheless, this up here is a navigation link, and it also contains, a button inside of the nav. So like, this is the div. This is a div that contains an image. This is a div that contains, I believe I used a UL here because just in case I want to add more social medias. So like this is a div that contains a UL, and each one of these is a LI. Inside of that, this is a div that contains a button, and so on and so forth. Um, so if you guys are interested in how I built that website and you guys want to basically want me to build that website for you guys over YouTube, let me know because that was a pretty extensive project, and it has a lot of different concepts to it. Um, Embedding different pages, links to different pages, giving everybody a different you know, whatever. Uh, so yeah, so no currently upcoming games because their season ended, but nonetheless, you can see, uh, yeah, we went into pretty good detail. There's like tables inside of columns, and this whole thing is completely mobile responsive. So the more you shrink your browser down, the more it's just going to function and flow accordingly. This is going to be for like your bigger iPhones, and then you can go down all the way down to 320 pixels is going to be the standard. So all the way down to like this bad boy, which is going to be smaller than like any mini device. You're going to be able to see uh, it it's gonna look clean on your device, and it has like all this all this good stuff. I don't know what that is. Oh, that's strange. Oh, that's fun. I don't think it actually does that. I think it's just like in this little browser tool, to be honest with you, because when tested out, it didn't do that. Anyway, so yeah, instead of this being a list like milk, eggs, and bread, these are gonna have in them what's known as an anchor tag, and this anchor tag is gonna contain a link, and this could be an external link, so to say like Google.com. And if in here we just went Google, and we did this, and we clicked on it, can I get google.com? Well, we have to go HTTPS here / google.com as well. Now it'll bring you to google.com. And if you want, you could even do, I believe, what is it? Yeah, we could go target and we could go blank, boom. And what that's going to do is that's going to open up google.com in a brand new page. So depending on how you want that handled, that's going to be um, your anchor tag. And these are super important because this can also bring you to another page. So like in the example that I gave before, so like, let's just say with this like NEFL website, so like this right here is going to be a file that I built in here, and this is going to be something like standings.html. And if I want to go here and go here, whoops, go here, and then body H1, and we say hello, and then we go back into the index and we remove this code rather quickly, and we go slash. It's going to find it automatically as a super convenient feature. Click there, go here. This right here is going to go standing. Let's go back to our web page. It's already updated automatically. And notice it brings us to standing HTML. If we go back, we can go index, or we can go here, go back. And that's how you're going to be able to navigate between pages. So not only are you able to apply uh, external links here, I had a page called team page. Here I had a page called Cobra's page. And then the roster is built on this external link. So as you can see, they have this manage your league external link. So this is how this is an external link to their official website, right? And nonetheless, bring you back to the home page, the index, HTML. Boom, something very simple. I built this entire website a year ago or so, just using nothing but HTML and CSS. The only part that I used JavaScript for was going to be this navigation, um, this nav element here. And going forward in the future, I'm just going to build some rather simple algorithms so that when I'm building out the schedules and updating the scores, this will all be handled by JavaScript. So I can show you guys how I built this using HTML and CSS if you're interested, and then how I would apply those algorithms to have that updated automatically using something like JavaScript. Um, so a fun little website that I built. Cool. Well, nonetheless, this href here is not actually going to contain either one of those two things, and we're going to leave it blank for now. But when we start building out the other sections, we're going to actually come back and explore this and see what other ways that we can use this anchor tag in the href element. So super fun stuff. So I'm going to say about me, and you guys can follow along here. We're going to back this up, and uh, yeah, we're just going to go skills because you need those uh, projects, because if you gotta have those as well. And then here we're going to say recommendations because nepotism is the only way that you get in. Inside of this culture, right? So it's what it is. All right, awesome. So we have our top little section built out, and notice that this is absolutely nothing remarkable and doesn't look anything close to yet what our final project um, did before. So this is what the final project is going to look like. Notice how it's, not bad. Um, but yeah, so like this is just the default browser styling. And that's how I'm gonna just structure this entire HTML just with the default browser styling. But in my head, I'm thinking like, okay, I'm applying a class here for CSS later. I'm thinking I want a div around the heading or this logo, right? This would typically be a logo that would typically contain an image, and this image would have a source of like a file or folder. In our case, we would have a folder and we'd call this images. And inside of the images folder, we just contain What I like to use are WP. And I can actually show you a little tool that I use in the terminal to convert my images to WP format. So give me one sec here. Jump forward a little bit here. So I went ahead and I just added the images that I used for this project. And notice how they're all WP format, maybe besides like a couple, right? So nonetheless, this is the little terminal tool, and this bad little unit is a nice little feature to have in your toolkit. So let's just go CWP, and basically, as you can see here, this is going to be your quality. So if you want to like reduce the quality to like save on your image size, you can do something like that. You can also do a little bit of more advanced scripting. Um, as you can see here, but honestly, what I typically do is I navigate to the folder, the HTML folder on our desktop with some of our screen recordings for this video. Um, list those out, CD into images, and let's just take this arrow up. Um, for example. So we'll just copy that. We'll place that here. Notice I'm leaving the quality blank because I just want to get the full quality. And then you go dash O, and then this is going to be what it actually converts to. So in our case, we're just going to kind of keep it the same, and we're going to put it there. But we're going to go WP. And this is basically going to be the best format for web browsers. So JPEG are a lot lighter, so you can definitely use JPEG. But the reason that I like using things like PNG are not only are they higher quality, but they also allow your photo to be transparent. So you're able to just plug in a transparent photo, dang right there. And then this is actually going to be better for your web browser to actually be able to read and understand. So transparent photo, a lot lighter. That's just what I like to do. So we're going to hit enter and notice right away, boom, right there, it just pops up and pulls up that WP image. And I could go ahead and delete these PNGs. It, I could definitely do that. I'm just not going to right now for whatever reason. But let's just do another one. So I can just press up inside of my terminal, and since I already got this structure set up, I see here that I have a pick in there. It's literally just called pick PNG, and we're going to convert this to pick WP. And with my cursor there, I could press enter. Notice it converts, and it's fun. Once you start getting the hang of it, let's just pull this back because I don't know if you guys tried doing this, like using different web tools and things like that, but it can be a lot more difficult than what it necessarily needs to be. So let's see if this one's going to convert. Oh yeah, it couldn't process SVGs. So SVGs are scalable vector graphics. This is what you're going to typically use on like icons and things like that because these are able to scale and not lose their quality and won't become pixelated. So like on an image, say this one over here, you can see that like as it scales, it is like a little bit pixelated. And if we go into our browser and continue to zoom in on that bad boy, um, it like becomes more and more pixelated the closer you zoom in on it. And what a scalable vector graphic would do is this would actually be just as clean um, on the uh, on the zoom as it is on the outside. And notice how you zoom out, it like becomes clear, right? So that's because this is probably like a JPEG, if I had to guess. But I don't know exactly what it is. I'm just guessing. It's a JPEG. Um, because yeah, whatever, they're light and you can use them if you don't need a transparent background on it for whatever it is. Anyway, that's a nice little tool that you can use uh, to um, pull that up. So it's and then how you download it, you just go here, uh, download, right? Simple as that. It'll teach you how to install that. I use a package manager on my Mac. It's called Brew. So that's probably what I used to Yeah, so it's for Mac or Linux, which is why I like using it. There's other package managers for Linux, but nonetheless, you just yeah, you just go brew install, and that's what you do. So cool. All right, let's move on with our actual project here and creating our unordered list. Oops, you can see I deleted that. So what's this stuff? There we go. Just Command Z is your best friend. So we got Nav. If I'm moving too slow for you guys feel free to go ahead and 2x the speed, but nonetheless, just make sure you guys are typing this out. Don't just be watching this video. It doesn't help you out. I wish it did, but it doesn't. All right. So we just applied that ID using Emmet, and we come down here, and I'm skipping all the way. No, I'm not. Okay, so now I'm gonna go to a figure. And what this is going to do is this is going to allow me to put an image in here because this is just a container that's telling the web browser basically what the heck is going on. So we're going to put a figure in there. And inside of this figure, we're going to place an image with a source of uh, pic. And we're going to use the WP because it's a better quality. And then this is going to be your alternate text. So for anyone who doesn't uh, like they're using a screen reader or say like let's say like your image is broken for whatever reason and it's not properly displaying on the screen, you can apply this alternate text. And what this is a profile picture. And I'm, to be honest with you, not 100% sure what is the best way to actually um, format these alt tags, if it's with capitals, if it's with dashes, if it's with lowercase and spaces. This is typically how I do mine here, but I've seen it done so many different ways. And to be honest, I haven't had the browser try to fight me with SEO and stuff like that. So if any of you guys use screen readers and you guys could tell me like what the preferred way of putting this in is, I've done it several different ways, but I usually stick to the lowercase with the space in between there. So this is just a profile picture, but let's say I had that extra slash in there for whatever reason they wanted to do that for me, um, and it's still being found. That's weird. So I do that, and the alternate text would be a profile picture. So that's what it is. And if I change this a profile pic, it would be like, hey, that's a profile pic. Um, But nonetheless, we don't want to do that. You know, I took that slash out there so it actually reads that properly. Great. Okay, so I have this giant image here that we're going to scale down eventually. And if you guys want something that's going to be a little bit more subtle, a little more relaxed for the time being, because your image is huge as well, just do with 100. And what this is doing is automatically applying 100 pixels to that. But you can leave out the 100 inside of this with in this uh, particular attribute because that's basically just what it is designed to do. So you're not going to want to do that in your CSS, but here it's fine. So now we have our image, and underneath our image, we're going to have what is a big caption. This again is for semantic um, styling and things like that. Again, for screen readers and stuff like that. And we're going to apply an H2 within the fig caption so that going down the screen, the heading is going from 1 to 2. And um, I got some text here. I'm just going to copy and paste. You guys feel free to say whatever you want to say inside of this heading, but I gave a little wave to make it a little bit more friendly. And um, after this H2, it looks like I just threw the text just straight in there because, you know, it would work. And I wasn't planning on making a tutorial out of this project. I was just doing it for something I had to do. But that's what I said. So notice that inside of here, we have a couple line breaks, okay? And what these are is this is going to apply one line break, and see it's a self-closing tag, much similar to this image tag that we applied up here. So notice how, because it's a self-closing tag, we didn't have to collect this, and we didn't have to do something like, it's not even going to let me do it, and I just probably screwed all that up. So let's just back it up. Yeah, okay. Anyway, it's a self-closing tag, not like this, which is not a self-closing tag. It needs an opening and a closing tag on it because your image is has all the information on the inside of it. It's not looking for anything to be on the outside of it, like an outside node, similar to how this would be. So notice if I don't have any line break in there at all whatsoever, it's just going to put it all on the same line. And I'm saying, hey, regardless of whatever CSS I add later, I just always want this to have a line break on the inside of this and just throw a couple in there because even if I go on mobile responsive with it later, I'm just saying, I just always want this line break to be in there. So that's a fun and unique tool that you can use, especially when it comes down to like styling forms or just anytime you need a line break. Just literally like throw that in and just understand that it's just gonna flow in your document regardless of how you're gonna set up your CSS and stuff like that. Uh, Regardless. So don't get too carried away with these bad boys, although sometimes convenient too, depending on what it is. But yeah, it just kind of gives a little space and separation. And you can throw in as many of these as you want. Um, it'll just keep pushing it down the page. So whatever. That looks good enough, right? So after our caption, or this is just the section for the about. We have our figure that contains an image that contains a caption and the heading um, for the browser to read. And we're just going to move on and go on to our skills section. So going down the page again, and I could have as many H2 headings as I want to inside of here. But what I'm going to do instead is throw in an H3 because we're moving down the page. And inside of this H3, we're going to have these skills set off here to the side. And as we continue on, we're going to uh, add some classes, some divs to break up um, this page. And we're going to call this one skills cards. Okay, so this one here is going to contain all of our cards. And on the inside, of this, we're going to say skill card. And our skill card is going to contain an image, of course, because that's what looks good, you know. And in our case here, it's going to contain our HTML logo. And underneath that, we're going to say an H4 because this is flowing down the page, right? And we're going to say that this is HTML because that's the skill that we want to put in there with a little bit of paragraph describing just what it is. And this is 3 years experience, which does ultimately cut myself short of uh, experience, but nonetheless, we're going to call them three. We're going to call them 3 years there, and it's not a big deal. Okay, so again, on our image, just for the time being, we're going to come back and delete these later. Because what I usually do if this were a regular project, I would already have my CSS set up um, in the side here, and I would apply some default styles so that basically as I'm coding, I can see some basic default styles so that our images are contained and things like that that I can override later. But we won't get into that right now. For right now, we're just going to kind of keep this simple and plain and just understand we'll be coming back and deleting those later. It's not a big deal. So we got 3 years of experience here on this skill, and just going down the page. We're just gonna add some skills because that's what the prying eyes like to see. So In our cards container, we're going to add some children elements uh, to that. And, I'm just going to copy and paste this a few times. So our next one, and later we could actually just do this with, this is another thing too. So, okay, so whatever PNG, but if all these at the end are the same, it makes it super easy and convenient later in JavaScript when you want to just like create a simple algorithm that would just populate all these cards. So see how we're just copying and pasting a lot of code and a lot of content? We can in JavaScript later on just like easily have this thing automatically just populate for us. And if you guys want to see a video that does that, just let me know in the comments below, and I'll go ahead and do a JavaScript video where we just restructure this and we just make it so, um, yeah, we just make it so I can show you guys how to do that. So keeps the width on there 100. We'll use a hotkey later, take that out. And I'm just going down with these skill cards that I have. Again, whatever. See, I'm already kind of getting a little bit confused because it is rather annoying. It's just like, it just like looks like a mess. And if you guys are on the other side, I'm sure you guys can relate. And I was just having fun because I was just for this project, it was just wanting to show that flex flow, like how that was working. So I added a whole bunch of these guys so that we could just go through there and knock that out. But you guys can stop there if you want, or you guys can just keep on coding with me. Yeah, it's gonna be good. Not to be confused with GitHub. So your Git is your version control, and your GitHub is actually going to be uh, tool that helps you manipulate your Git. So that's what that's the difference between those. And we could literally spend a whole hour video just talking about the differences between Git and GitHub, but uh, that's another time. I'm just copying what I have before because I'm just copying this from another screen. I thought, oh, okay. So it's just chucking these things down. So we got a uh, really long list there. So that's what this project was handing out, and that's what it did. So we can move on to our next section. That's going to contain our projects. And inside of our projects, this is going to be another uh, H3. Okay, because yeah, this shouldn't overreact because this is contained inside of this, and once you start getting down in here, that's something that you guys can actually just when you guys have it live, run a lighthouse report, click on that analyze button there, and there's other tools. You can go to like pagespeeds.com, put your link in there, but there you go. SEO best practices. Got nothing to complain about. So far, so good. So we're just going to continue to go down on this page and pop in at H3. Um, and I'm going to go projects cleaner. A lot of people don't like styling CSS for whatever reason. However, I love it. I also love just like HTML. So that's just going to be, uh, to each their own. Although once you get into JavaScript and programming with JavaScript is definitely a good time as well. So not to sell that too short. I'm just saying. So underneath here, we wanted to create another UL, and you can do this however you want. It was just to get that nice little bullet point there inside of our uh, description, and uh, just by default, just kind of have like, hey, this HTML projects, and then boom, right there it is. So as the list continues to get bigger, it'll just by default look pretty nice and can require a lot of styling and extracurricular on that. Immediately following this, I did something within this list. That's another self-closing tag. That's an HR, very similar to a BR tag, but not to be confused. So what this HR is going to do is it's actually just going to by default, and you can throw a class in here, just like so, um, because uh, it's a tag, it's a valid tag, and you can throw in as many attributes as your heart desires inside of these bad boys to get your page off in any way that you need to. But what this is going to do is see how it put this nice little line inside of here, and that's just going to be the default HR tag. And later, we can actually style this in any way that we want to. We can uh, have as much fun with it as we want to. We could have also, if we really wanted to get weird, we could have just put a div in here, and we could go style, and we could say height of 2 pixels and a width of say 5 pixels and 500 pixels, something like that. It's not showing up anyway because whatever, we'd have to style it later. But yeah, and then you're essentially just doing the same thing. Um, I can show that later once we get into CSS. So it wasn't such a janky example, but easy. HR tag throws in that line. That's nice. Okay, let's move on to something. Um, okay, the div gets closed off after the UL. That's beautiful. Okay, so just to make sure what we're looking at here. Okay, so this is a node, child node to this parent, and this is the one that we're going to want to duplicate because we're just going to want to simply show a couple different project examples, right? So our second one here, we want to say CSS. Next one here, I'm going to go JavaScript. And we're just keeping these all uniform and the same. Um, and for my dummy text, if you will, this is what I played with. And if you guys want, you guys can actually just do something that's called lorem. And I should have showed you this before, but if you just go lorem and you hit enter and you save that, it's just going to literally throw in just a perfect amount of styled text for you. And that was by coincidence. So if I went in here and I did the same thing and I said lorem and I went 500, this is going to throw you 500 words of lorem and it's giving you that preview right there. Let's roll with it. Okay. 500 words of lorem. So whatever dummy text you guys need, we'll just keep it, whatever amount of dummy text you guys need, um, it'll it's great. It's great for that, because if I just did like more 25, something more realistic, and I put that there, which is what the default is, um, and say, oh, this is a little bit like, you know, I mean, is anybody really reading this? Like, I want to have like this much more. Boom. So then it just kind of fills it up a bit. Uh, yeah, that's a way that um, you can style some dummy text. But anyway, I said something like that so that it actually makes it feel like a little bit of a real project. Now that we're done with this section here and we've applied all of these child elements to this parent, we're going to move on and we are going to get into our uh, almost final section. So this section is going to be our recommendations. Okay, we're just going to keep it going. And as you can tell, I was getting tired of this project, so I just went recom. And then I threw in an H3 with a class of three comms, plural, right? H3. And, oh my word, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, boys. Sorry, boys and girls, here we go. And then the next one is going to be recomms. Unbelievable. Okay, here you go. Recom. And this is an honest review left by some people who I worked with from Upwork, actually, is the site. Um, and we're going to do the exact same thing. And we're just going to go up. So, and I just basically just did this. And, you know, um, even though you can do the job, uh, yeah, it's just what it is. You just got to keep on telling everybody that you know that over and over again. Great. Okay, cool. So then you got recon there. Beautiful. And that'll land us something for this section. So now we're into the final section. And in our case here, this final section, we are going to semantically call this a footer. Okay. And inside of our footer, we're going to throw an H6 because that's going to be the last one. And this is going to say leave a recommendation. And this is going to bring us into what is a form element. So this form element is going to take in inputs. And in a regular form, you would have an action, and this would be like slash, like PHP, whatever. Like if you had a backend, this is where that action would actually handle that form submission and submit it to your database based on whatever the user input is within this form. So inside of a form, you have things like uh, well, these are very extensive, so let's go ahead and look this up again. So as you can see, you're just going to have your basic form. Boom, look at that. Actions, PHP, and this is just going to be like an example. And if you hit submit, it says your form is received as. So in our case, the value, so it should have a value, label for name. Okay. Anyway, whatever. No, it's a JavaScript thing. But our name and what this is for is going to be first name, and so that's a PHP thing, and then this is going to be last name, and that was just basically what was submitted. So if I would have said Keller, so Lucas, and I'd submit it, boom, look at that, lowercase, just as we typed it in and all. So that's how you're going to handle form for a backend, but nonetheless, this is just a front end project using HTML and CSS without any JavaScript at all. So we're not going to go ahead and dive into the bones of that, but nonetheless, oh, I see. Okay, so your value is actually what you start with, and in JavaScript, when you want to grab a value, you grab that. Won't get into that. That's something for later on. Okay, perfect. Well, uh, here's our form that we got so far. So as you can see here, and if you want, it's actually a bad little tool that I like to use, and it's called uh, FormSpark. So it's pretty sweet. Um, and what it is this right here. So you can actually try it for free, and you get like 500 submissions, and you literally just get an email. it connects forms to Zapier and Make. Okay, these are automation tools that you can actually perform on the back end. It's no APIs or frameworks, and what you do is you sign in and you get a link, and you literally take that link that it says to, and you copy it in just like so. And because you sign up with your email, you will get an email whenever someone enters something in on your form. So if this is something that you're like just trying to make and you're like, hey, I don't think I'm going to get 500 people submitting things to my form, before I make it and I'm able to develop a whole backend Postgres database, etc. Like this is something, say like, okay, a swim coach could totally use this, who's like, okay, I'm gonna have like 20 to 30 students sign up on my form each year, right? Not even close to making the 500. And I'm gonna have like at the most, say 10 to 15 parents hit me up and ask me questions throughout the swim season. Okay, so like 45 to 50 form Spark submissions, it'll put you way below that 500, and you just get an email and it's just like boom right there, and then you can just talk to them. So it makes your website look super legit, and I mean, it's free. So I know a bunch of tools similar to this. If you guys have any like questions like, hey, how the heck do I do this, that, and the third? Like whether it's like converting an image and using that terminal tool to like using formspark.io and taking your website to the next level for free, let me know. All right, beautiful. So anyway, we're going to leave that blank for now because this isn't actually going to submit anything. This is just a basic example to just like take you through what it is and how you use it. So like I was saying before, on the inside, there's going to be a label. And depending on what it is that you're actually going to um, do, depending on the type of input, this for is going to be recommended. But whether you put your input on the outside, like I'm doing right now for this next input, or the inside of the label is going to depend on the input type. Okay. So as I was explaining before, there are several different types of inputs. You have radio. This is where things like checkboxes come in. So underneath the type, it automatically gives us the type of text. And then going back here, as you can see, this is what I needed anyway. So this will throw in text. Cool. All right. Well, what if I wanted like a type of password? Well, by automatically, it'll give you a password. Nice. Okay. Let's go range. And then this one requires a min of 0 and a max of 100, and value, we're going to say 50. So boom. So it gives me like a range. So say I want to create like an oscillator that's going to be like a synthesizer for a music player or something like that. I could, it's sweet, right? No, cool. Heck yeah. So what else do we got here? So by default, just within HTML using this, we got email. And this doesn't have a submit button, but it's going to require this, followed by that. That's ultimately what it's going to be looking for. And if you don't put that in there, it's going to say that it's invalid. This is also how we get things like numbers, where it automatically lets you insert numbers. And this is a form, you know. Maybe in a later video, if you guys want to see styled form and how that all works, you can let me know. But you could also go like color. And this is where stuff gets so sweet, guys, because look at this. You can literally, you got like an RGB, you got an HSL, you had a hex, right? Let's go. Just like so. You can click that and it'll give you that. Like that's an advanced feature that's just out of the box ready uh, for, I want that color. Gives you that color. Let's go. Am I right? Okay. But for now, we just want a text. All right. So let's keep on moving on here. So you have to let this label know, what it's for. And in our case, we're not actually even going to include a label just for like styles and stuff like that. But if you want to, the way that you connect these bad boys up is by giving it an ID, and this is unique, much similar to the way that the for is for the label. And then we're also going to give this like a name. And we're going to give this like a name of name. So the next thing that I'm going to do and why I didn't require a label or have a label is I'm going to have this placeholder text. So as you see, this placeholder text is right there. And when I start typing, it immediately goes away. Back it up, it shows. So I'm just letting the user know that they don't have to enter their name if they don't want. It's just an option that they have. Um, okay, so the user is going to uh, enter their name, and then after they enter their name, they're going to send me a message. So if they want to anonymously send me a dirty message on FormSpark, they're absolutely allowed to do that because we're not for net neutrality on this channel. We like things to be uh, free. So we're just going to continue to fill in. So what this text area is this is going to give them basically a text field that's different than an input text where you're just typically like entering like your first, your last name, um, project title, things like this. This is going to be a full-blown text box. So you could send me Shakespeare, the entire like, whatever book through that if you wanted to do that. This is where, so your calls are going to be your columns, and we're going to specify 100 columns. So this is going to be across. So we'll say that, as you can see here, that's going to apply your text box that has this thing on it. And again, I like letting the user do this if they want to. There is a way to disable that if you want. You just go ahead and you look it up. Yeah, the text area tag is what I want. Okay, so as you can see here, it's giving us the same attributes just to have in there by default, and specifies that the text area should be, that's not that one. Um, forget what it is. It doesn't matter. Actually, it does matter because, let me see here. Yes, resize 9. Okay, so there it is. So it's resize. But that, we got 9. So we'll go back here and it's still let me do it. You sure about that, buddy? Let's see, it says, um, sometimes it's just a little bit of reading is what it takes. It's just wanting to give me CSS solutions, which is rather annoying. Okay, whatever. We keep it on there. Okay, we'll figure that out. Each message calls. Next is going to be rows. So if you haven't been able to figure that out already, I'm sure you have. It's just going to pop in. So notice how before, without this, it just gave us the default amount of rows, which is 2. And to back that up, we want 12 in there. So then it's just going to add 12 rows for us. Audio, I know that the audio is pretty muffled. I'm just using my AirPods. I have a higher quality mic, but I was just like doing this kind of on the fly type thing. And I looked into the project, and I actually have a cool little JavaScript function that I built into the end of this thing. Um, I didn't even know that I did. And yeah, so it's kind of cool. So stick around, and maybe you'll get to see some JavaScript if you're into that. So, all right, so underneath the form or underneath the footer here, we're gonna have another anchor element, and this one uh, right here, we're gonna also just leave that blank for now. But inside of this anchor element, so like before we were able to put like text, well, you can also make an image link. And in our case, we're going to make it a link to this arrow up. So we're just going to arrow up, right? So that's what it is. All right, beautiful. So, so that we can give this thing some style later inside of this image, we're going to do that. And again, we'll delete this later once we get into the CSS. But we throw that in there, and that's going to basically just take us to the end of the HTML for now. I always place the script tags for JavaScript down at the end of our page. And that's actually where this would go right here for now, but we don't have a main.js created. The way that we would do that is the same way that we'd create our HTML files, the way that we create our CSS files, we just give it a .js file extension. And like that, if we went back to our VS Code and we said main, it would see it, boom, and we're able to do that. But instead, we're going to move on now to our styles.css because that is the proper way of doing things, and that's what we're going to move on to. So to start out, we're going to take this guy here, and that's actually going to be a selector to select all of the uh, like everything, right? That's just like a select all. And what that select all is I was just going to throw a margin of 0 because if you remember in the beginning, it was giving that like default amount style padding. And all of these different elements and things like that that we use in here, they all have default padding and margin and like styles applied to them. So when I'm setting up my CSS, what I like to do is go padding uh, 0. Okay, and then we have box sizing, and what this is going to be is border box. And scroll behavior here for the entire page, we're going to say that this is smooth scrolling. Okay, well, let's first grab our section. And remember that this is grabbing each section, so not um, bias to like grabbing a section with like ID about on it to style it. We're saying, hey, every single section that like comes after another, we're just gonna throw some default uh, padding on there, and this is gonna be for the top and bottom, and this next one is gonna be for the left and right. So the way that the padding gets read, it goes top, right, then it would be bottom, and then it would be left. Okay. But the shorthand version of this would be top and bottom, left and right. So if I wanted to apply 20 pixels on top, 30 pixels to the right, 15 pixels to the bottom, and say 10 pixels to the left, I could totally do that. And notice that as I'm saving, nothing is working inside of the document body there. Well, why is that? Because we have to go back up to the head section of our document where all of the uh, basically information is being applied. And what I like to do is I like to put these links and things like that after the title. That's just how I like to do it. I don't think if there's a preferred way looking up the way that you would do that. There was really it was pretty agnostic. There wasn't really a specific way of being able to do that. But what I typically like to do for mine is I would put like three link tags in here, right? And I would call this first one because what the CSS stands for is cascading style sheets. So what that means is it's cascading. So it's working down the page. So if I apply a style to my default um, my default uh, CSS page. And let's just say I'm going to put a um, margin. I'm going to put a margin of 100 pixels on everything, right? Well, notice again, it didn't change. Well, why is that? Because this right here is being overridden by this right here, which is applying 0. But if I were to apply 500 to this, that's the one that it's actually reading, and now it's just way too big for the page. So let's just say, let's just say 120 pixels. Okay, whatever. Right? Stupid. I know, right? Okay, but anyway, that's the whole point. So this 0 stands for 0 pixels, and basically that's the shorthand way of doing that. Anyway, so like if I have like default styles, and that's what I was referring to earlier, um, what I would typically do is I would go in here and I'd say root, and I would actually start setting up some CSS variables. So I'm gonna say brand, and usually I would just like do this like C1, and I would know what that means. Or I might say primary is something that I use quite often. So I'd use primary, secondary, etc. But for our case, we're going to say like brand color one, okay? And our brand color one is going to be red, okay? And then we're going to copy and paste this. We're going to come down, and our brand color two is going to be blue, okay? So now I want to come in here and say the background color for all of these. I would go var because that's a variable, and right there it automatically knows and it sees that, and it immediately applies that text. So like, let's say you have a brand color that changes later on in the future, instead of having to go back and grab every single one of these hashtags where you went in there and let's just say you did blue, and you wouldn't have to go back and change every single one of these blues because you're going to have multiple pages of styles, right? Like, and just hundreds of lines of code. So using these variables up here, like in your default, is very useful. Also, what I would do is I would use this for like, what is it? I use FS, and what this is font size. So what I would say is like font size 16. And what this would be, and I would just go here, and I'd go here, and I go pix to rem converter, because keep in mind we're wanting to style and display things like mobile responsive. Okay, so right here it gave us some default, but nonetheless I would use I think I use this one. Yeah, this is the one that I like. So it's in base 16. What is that? What is base? Refers to the value of a base font size, HTML elements. Most browsers default 16 pixels. Read more about it below. Boom. So we're on a base 16, which is one rem. Okay, so I'd go here and I'd go one rem. So what a rem unit is basically this is a fixed value. Okay, so it's like 16 pixels no matter what, where this rem is going to scale as your browser scales. So it's going to it's going to basically read what was going on here initially, and as your viewport gets bigger and smaller, it's gonna adapt the font. So you're not looking at some giant font on a smaller device and etc. Right? So it's gonna apply some default uh, mobile responsive in there. And you can obviously, again, refer to the docs. So we're going to go back here and we're going to go MDN. And these are web docs. This is HTML. This is CSS. This is JavaScript. So we're going to say like rem. Okay, what is rem? Rem is a CSS function. Okay, notice here it says function. It's left over when the first parameter divided by the second parameter, and the remaining operator is used. You know what I mean? So like this is something that they already did for you to help make your website more mobile responsive. And I like mobile responsive and things looking clean like that. So if I wanted to say go down here, and I'm not going to do this for this project, but I'm just showing you that this is what you can do. And when you start to get more advanced, this is kind of how you have to start thinking, you know? So you also have EM, okay? So it's a little bit more harsh. So I don't know. I like RAM. That's just what I prefer. However, it is definitely necessary at times to use um, EM uh, versus RAM. However, when I'm working with fonts and things like that, that's just like what I do. So there you have it. So then if I wanted to, I'd come back over here and I would say var, and I would say FS20. And then I'd come back over here, I'd say var, and I'd say FS dash 30. Boom. And because I just want the shorthand in there, I just leave it like so. And that's how you're able to apply these functions. Okay, well, something else that I really like to do, and in this case here, this is going to be for font size. Okay, so what I like to use is this little clamp function. And this is a crazy little function that basically says, like, hey, this right here is going to be your mobile responsive. So this is going to be the smallest pixel size. However, I wanted to, and you typically are somewhere between 6, 7, 8, and this is viewport width. So 8 BW. So how do I explain that? So uh, BW, hmm, or property. Well, anyway, you have VW, which is viewport width, and you have VH, which is viewport height. So let's just, for like our case here, let's just, so I can just show you this how this works, because this is kind of like a helpful thing here. And for now, I'm just going to go here, and then I'm going to link styles, and just playing around and testing this out. This is how you guys are gonna get here. So here we go. So um, let's go stand and styles. So let's just go hashtag newer, and then I'm gonna go in here, and I'm gonna go hashtag newer, and um, I want a width of say 50 keyboard width. Okay. So um, let's go up here and let's go for stand HTML. Let's go to our stand HTML, and then I'm gonna go background color, and let's just do var just because we're here, and what was it, color one. Uh, hmm, it's because I didn't apply the default. So even though I'm gonna be deleting this again, I'm just showing you all this default. Wicked, it didn't work. Okay. Able to then not get this. Oh, but what is going on? Huh? It's got this bad border. One. Okay, maybe we have to specify a height. There it is. Okay. So, okay, so we have 100 pixels. So notice how this is fixed. Okay, so we're here, and if we're here, it's just oh, okay. That was just good. So the height is fixed, right? And if we go 50 pixels, 500 pixels, and then we come here and we scroll, it's not letting us go over it anymore because it's like that. Perfect. That's what I want to see. So boom. So this like looks like it is, but honestly, it's overflowing here. And when you're trying to make things mobile responsive, you can have like this weird side scroll feature here. So you see like this side scroll. So this is no good. So like if you've ever been on a website where like all the content is here and then like one section is pushing it off to the side, this is why, because they're using these fixed lists, right? So if I go 50 VW, as you can see, the viewport, it's going to be 50% of the viewport. However, with the height, again, I can have this be a fixed height using these pixels, or what I can do is I can do 100, and then this is VH. And there are other things that are also more mobile responsive, and you typically don't want to be messing with the height too much when it comes to mobile responsive. Um, that's a deep dive topic for another time, but nonetheless, it gives you 100% of the viewport. So if I were to say something like 10 VH, it would give us 10 uh, like what it is, right, of the viewport. So see here, it's basically responsive to the browser. So that's why that's working that way. Nonetheless, let's back this up. We're actually just going to delete this uh, altogether. and then delete this altogether and come back here. And we're going to also delete the responsive because what would happen is these media queries would actually be held inside of the responsive file. And then that's how you just build out your media queries. Last but not least, uh, since you were just keeping those in mind the entire time, um, to style and maintain the code. Awesome. Okay, so what we're gonna do with this now is get rid of this junk, okay, and come back to this clamp function that I never finished explaining because I was stuck on the this. So you typically keep that at like a 8 VW. So like relative to the screen size, you're gonna try to keep that value locked in there, and then say like I want a big font size of say like 20 pixels. So when you're on a giant screen, boom, there you go. It already did that for me. And then as I shrink down, well, it's just saying that this content is all right. What it would do is it would scale closer and closer to that 14 pixel. So it's going to try to keep her around this puppy, okay? And this is the max, and this is the minimum, right? And if I keep this down, 6, okay, it's going to stay 4. Wow, it's really liking this display. Thank you. Okay, so as you can see, it's just going to scale down, and just playing around with this is going to help you like functionalize your code like that right there. That's nice. You know what I mean? So it's smaller on smaller devices, it's bigger on bigger devices. They too hard. You know what I mean? Um, Pushing the computer's limits here, I guess. Shouldn't be. Anyway, but that's what it's doing. So again, this is beyond the scope of this project, but just to get you guys like thinking, like programmers and to be able to functionalize everything using JavaScript later on, that's what we want to do. So with that being said, we're just going to simply move on and we're going to go back to our original where we're just going to apply some default padding to the bottom and the sides of 30 pixels to kind of space that out. Now, just like our CSS selector and Emmet, and we're going to go dot uh, nav section. So that's grabbing the class of the section. And what that is here. So if you go here, as you can see, nav section. So every thing, and if I wanted to, I could literally put class nav section on this thing. And if I wanted those same styles to be applied to anything, I can manipulate my entire code just by simply using these reusable classes. So that's the biggest difference between classes and IDs is classes are reusable. So I can apply as many classes to as many things as I want. So if I wanted to have another class of like block and inner and outer and what else, this is not going to break my code, and that's why we put this together with this. What else is there to do? Ridiculous. You'd never use this, but nonetheless, that's a valid class. And these classes do not weigh down your browser, and they're great for me. I like them for CSS. Now, these IDs can also be clutch little tools that you can use as well for different things, and you'll see why each one of these has a specific thing that we wanted to put on there. Um, and yeah, anyway, these are fun in JavaScript. You can create lists in JavaScript using classes. Again, beyond the scope of this video. Let's move on here. So that's how we're selecting it. So we're selecting that class. And if I put this here, notice it's not able to pick that up. But if I put that there, loving it. Okay. So here we're going to throw a width of 100%. And this is scalable as well. Well, why use percent and not viewport width? Well, that's a very philosophical question that you can look up in the MDM documents. There's another YouTuber that I used to watch all the time. His name's Kevin Powell. He goes into deep dives on these things all the time. Um, Smooth operator. I'd suggest you check him out. I like a little off-white rather than it just being plain white. It's a little nicer on the eyes. So something I like to use is white smoke. Um, Again, not getting too crazy into like this project specifically, but you can see it applies a nice little background there. So that is the section that we are indeed changing. So as you can see, we are changing. And okay, yeah, what's cool? And this is something I should have brought up. So boom, right there. Again, yeah, let's open that. Okay, awesome. It brought me right to the section so that if I have any questions on what anything is, brings us right to the MDM docs. So what is this now? Look at that. Okay, let's go. Boom, boom. I mean, the ability to learn code in this day and age is just unbelievable. So, yeah, so we're manipulating the styles of everything found within this section here now. Okay, so it gave us that background color, as you can see. It's giving us that padding. And if we move on, we got our top nav. So that's what's next. So similar to how we structure our HTML, just from the top down, keeping things nice and clean and organized. You know, even though our brains may be forward thinking how to do this, it's the same way. That's how you're going to want to structure this. Because I mean, like, I can, I can come up here and I can throw this up here and it will work. But oh my goodness sakes, if you're going to do that, and then later on go try to find your different styles and stuff like that. Once these files get huge, you're never going to be able to find it. But what you can do is you can hit Command F at that point and say, you know, where did I put that top mouse? And it'll show you right there. And then you can scroll this file that's a million lines of code long and be able to find it. So Command F and then just escaping out of that. So the next thing we're selecting is this div. And if you don't like using this tool, boom, look at that. So everything that's contained now inside of this. So that's why I really like just breaking these things down because that's again going to give us the best ability to manipulate the code to style this thing exactly how I want to without back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. Man, just. And if you screwed up and you say, like, oh, I want to do this and this is like that, and this parent element is moving over here, this is what you do. You go like this, you go Command, you go X, you create something that's called an outer div with an S because it contains all your divs. You hit that, you go Command V, and you paste that in there. And that's how you fix that problem that will arise in the future once you start to get deeper and more advanced into things. So do not be afraid. Just take that, find out where that ends when this is a million sheets long. Say something like this, you know, and you're like, man, I need to wrap this whole section into div, right? Well, maybe I make this section a div or something else like an article, and maybe I just delete this puppy and I throw an outer div. I'm just using this as an example, and you do something like that, right? And then that's how you're going to be able to uh, manipulate those mistakes. So just do it. All right. And then what I like to use is Flexbox. And you can absolutely use CSS grid. Okay. And hey, if you prefer grid, that is just between um, you and the Lord, right? That's between you and God. Just kidding. But no, if you like to use, I like to use Flexbox because it just keeps everything um, nice and clean, you know? So I don't have to uh, break my brain too hard over what it is that I'm doing because I'm just going to keep it uniform. And if the situation arises where I need to use a CSS grid, well, then I can just go ahead and do that. And grid is great for like image galleries. It's great for like, um, you know, I don't know, there's different situations where, Grid is a little bit better than Flexbox. Nonetheless, I personally use Flexbox about 90% of the time. So as you can see here, you have that display, and before we were able to display that as block or inline. But in our case here, we're going to display this as Flex. And again, going back to those WordPress and Shopify and whatever you want to bang your head on the keyboard with examples, website builders, these concepts are exactly what is going to be inside Elementor and exactly inside of your style plugins that people try to sell and dress up as best as they possibly can. Um, that's what it is. And understanding CSS Flexbox and understanding CSS Grid is going to be where you're going to be able to go into a Squarespace, into a Wix, and be able to manipulate that however you see fit. So I strongly, strongly recommend going to this website and the MDN documents, and something that helped me out um, when I was learning. Not only was it forms and things of that nature, but it was this guy right here. And not to knock what they got going on in JavaScript, because for me personally, I didn't find it very useful. Um, I mean, whatever. Uh, this could not have been any more worth the money, right? And I'm obviously not sponsored by anyone. I'm showing you all these different things. This is like and CSS Garden. So like you do the grid garden, you do the Flexbox Pro, Froggy Pro. And there's other ones, of course, but you do these and you do just do all these games. You just do all these games. You're gonna you're gonna know what's up. You know what I mean? And just getting all the way through every single one of them, taking the time to do this, to do this, to do this, to do this. Take your time, get through them, understand these concepts. You'll absolutely learn real quickly what align items center does, what justify content space between does, what other selectors I can throw on top of CSS. So before, right, you had the block inline. Didn't get into these because we not use that often. But anyway, nonetheless, let's just try out this little example here. So pull this guy over and they're using some syntax here. And so we're going here and we're looking at it. It's display flex, but what if I wanted to do something like this? What happens if I go flex direction and then I say column? Let's find out. Okay, it throws those in columns. Okay, so now you're able to just like immediately put that there. Okay, cool. So what if I want to align items to the center now? Okay, awesome. Well, it immediately puts them in the center. All right, so now if I want to go flex end, it puts them at the end. Okay, so I want to go flex start, start. Okay, um, and now I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna say row. So when you flip this from a column to a row, notice how the align items is working this way, it's working this way, and it's working this way, right? Well, notice how on our nav, what we wanted to do is we wanted to align the items on the center because you can make an absolute mess of trying to get this aligned with this when this is a different text size and this is a different, like as I hover, I'm actually making this a different font size and I'm making it a different font style that's taking up more space, yet everything stays the same. It's not pushing this over, dropping this down, moving that up, going nuts, right? Going ballistic over here. No, it's just staying clean, man. Like, even recommendations is staying nice and uniform. And that's because we have that align item center on there. And then when we're trying to justify the content, instead of going this way to align, we're justifying the content going th this way, right? So we're saying space around, space between. So in our case, it's space between. So if we were to change this up, if we were to change this up and we wanted to see what space around looks like, see what I'm saying? space evenly. We do the same thing here. We go flex end. Okay. We go flex start. Okay. Okay. Cool. So we know what we want. We want space between. So let's throw in space between the two. Okay. So then we have align items, right? And what this is doing is this is centering this bad boy up, right? It's just centering uh, this div, which right here is still ugly, right? But we're going up. And what are we centering? So on here, we're centering a block element with a block element. So if we were to say style display inline, notice how it jams it up. Okay, these have to be applied on block elements, and that's why again, anything you're doing, you're gonna want to put these. You're gonna want to put a block over the top of it, or in my default case, what I'll do on inline elements, I'll add a class that says block, and inside of my default CSS, that's how I'm going to automatically apply a block element, a block style to it. Okay, sweet. Okay, so you saw that justified content, but again, keep in mind that as you flip these, that the justify uh, content is also going to flip them. So now the align items is keeping these um, going this way, and then the justified content, we're going to say center, going that way. Okay, it's centering these now here. So if we want space between, yeah. And Flexbox Froggy, you're gonna be a pro after 20 minutes. So spend the $20 or whatever it is, you know what I mean, for a month and hammer it out and take a week if you need to get through those games, and that's gonna be your best $20 spent if this is what you want to do. All right, so let's move on. Um, so after the top nav and after a little bit of Flexbox explanation, we're gonna literally just start popping this stuff in and just making this website look sweet without taking 17 years to click back and forth within Squarespace and sit on hold with the customer service praying that it isn't real when it is. Okay, so we're gonna move on and we're gonna go to the logo. And this is gonna be our H1 here. And now inside of our H1, so what we're doing here is this right here is a space. And this space is a descendant, okay, in CSS. So we're saying here, logo, descendant, child, H1, okay? So if we went logo, descendant, P, it doesn't exist. There would be no style applied. But because this is a descendant, this is valid syntax. So this is just some specificity. So if you want to add something to your logo later on, like say some paragraph text that's going to be like a sub and say hello, something like that. If you wanted to do that later on, um, you know, uh, that's, valid. And yeah, so like then it's not gonna like override any of the styles that you have on here. That makes sense. So this is just a way to be more specific. And the more specific that you can be when selecting these elements without getting too carried away is definitely going to be your best friend. So sorry for the flipping back and forth. Um, so now we have a font family. And in our case, cursive, because why not? I was just kind of having fun. Honestly, this project, it didn't matter too much. And then we have something that's text decoration. That gives us like all of these different things. And in our case, I went with an overline. Why? Because we're too advanced for underlines. So simple as that, right? I mean, that looks clean. Um, I mean, sure. I don't know. I kind of like the overline just because why not? Cool. Okay. So again, document that. So now we go in here and we're just simply selecting the nav. And in our case, we're going to go with 420 pixels because this is not uh, a mobile responsive project. We're just kind of putting this thing together for what we needed to put it together for. And then in here, we're going to also just go display flex and align items center. And if this is annoying to type out by now, um, trust me, it's more annoying to have to sit there and mess with all the different things. Um, that will take way more time than just simply, uh, you know, okay. So now we're going to go with style. And in our case, you could go like, remember all these lower alpha, lower Greek, lower Latin, Roman numeral, outside square. What's square? Boom, it changes it to a square. Well, in our case, we're going to go none. Okay, so it takes that away. And then inside of here, we're going to go display. And this, we're going to display block. Again, why? So we can manipulate it so that it can be read by our Flexbox. So these child nodes have to be display block. If they're display inline, again, they will not be read by our Flexbox, and we will not be able to fully manipulate all the elements that we want to inside of our document. So then we're going to go text decoration, and we're going to say not, and that's going to remove that underline. And if you want to play around with these, again, you can have this AI text decoration and go through all the different decorations that you can choose from. And in our case, we're going to say not, because that's what most navigation bars are. And if you wanted to, you could unhover, have the underline, with a cursor pointer or something like that. So yeah, but by default, these are A tags, so the cursor is a pointer anyway. So let's just continue to move on. And we're going to go to color black. Even though that's harsh on the eyes, we're not going to worry about that for this project. And then we're going to say cursor pointer anyway, just for specificity. And as you can see, those links are now black, and we're moving on. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go here, and um, we're going to apply a pseudo selector there. So this is a pseudo. So you have pseudo classes and you have pseudo elements. And in CSS3, these things were differentiated because before they were, um, so yeah, so now you have all your pseudo classes, and you're able to do things like before and after are going to be your best friends there for how you want to manipulate that content. But in our case, all we're trying to do is just create a simple hover effect. And on this hover effect, what we're doing is we're gonna just, I don't know, it was just for fun. Uh, we're gonna give it a style of cursive, and then we're gonna give this a font size of 16 pixels so that it doesn't move around that content. When you hover it, it looks pretty cool in my opinion. So, all right, now let's see um, why are these? Got, uh, there you go. That's how it's gonna spread these ones out. I was just moving too fast. So there you go. In your nav UL, change use space around or whatever you prefer. So that's looking nice there. So just moving down the page now, as you can see, moving down the page, and we're gonna skip this about for now with that ID, and you'll see why later. We'll go back and edit all that, and then we're gonna have our figure next in our next section. So our figure at large, big caption, RH2, things like that. And we're going to get our hands dirty doing a little bit of styling in this. And it's going to be a lot of the same stuff, um, but nonetheless, important stuff because this is where you're going to really differentiate yourself in creating beautiful looking websites or creating some uh, friendly user experience piece of trash. So, First, you got to type in justify content. We're going to say space around. Yeah. And we're going to say 500 bits. Page 3, font size. And if you want to see how we're manipulating this, just go back to the HTML and just see, what we're selecting and how we're moving down the page. So we're just moving straight into the skills cards, and as we're doing this, we're just able to see that these things are being um, manipulated accordingly. As we save, it's moving all that stuff like that. Flex, that's something else. We won't get into that this video. And then what this flex flow does is this is a shorthand. So what this wants to do is it wants me to specify the row. And then in our case, we're going to go wrap. Well, what is this? So what this does is you can go flex wrap, and you can say no wrap, wrap reverse. Okay. And what this flex flow is a shorthand for basically, if I did this, flex direction, like I showed you earlier, and I said row, okay, and then I went here and I said wrap. This is the exact same thing as a flex flow. So, you know, oh, right there it is. Okay, so we just go flex flow. Simple as that. Okay, so I'm moving on with flex flow, and then this is gap. So this is going to be something that's unique or specific to using both Flexbox and Grid. Um, I think you can use it in some other cases, but um, it's going to be most beneficial in Flexbox and Grid. So that's what I use it for, and what most people use it for. Not saying you couldn't use it for something else. I guess I'm not exactly entirely sure, but I don't believe so. So anyway, we're going to come down to these skill cards, and what we got here is a box shadow. So this is what I like to do. So remember before we were putting on that border, right? And we were like solid, great, uh, okay, and it applies that border. Well, some a little bit smoother in my opinion, um, make you look a little bit more awesome. This is going to be your top and bottom offset, your left and right offset, and then the amount of blur you want to add to, or the uh, whatever. And if you wanted to, you could add a color at the end of it. Boom. So it's got a 5 pixel. Well, how about 50? See, that's what it does. So it just puts that blur um, at the end of that. And if you wanted to do something cool, like say border radius, you could go like, let's say 10 pixels, and it'll round those corners off, as you can see. So it rounds those corners off. And if you wanted to make that a complete circle, you'd go 50%. And then we could center these up and make that look good. And then we would we just like give this thing a padding of say 50 pixels, and uh, we would put the content inside of here so that it would be a perfect circle. We could do the same thing to this image, have this image be a circle. Um, and yeah, for this project, I just kind of kept things pretty plain, pretty basic. Uh, you know, there's a lot of different ways, a lot of different directions once you start getting into this stuff. The way that you, yeah. Well, anyway, I just put a 5 pixel box shadow on there, just kind of keep it clean, cool. Um, Play around with that however you want to. Again, just more of the same. And then once you get in here, it flips from row. So, you know, beautiful. So it just lined all that content up for us, just like that. So, some specificity. What are we doing? We're going 55 ticks. Oh, whoops. We're going with, boom, 55 ticks. And that's the way that you guys are actually going to want to do that. So at this time, what we're going to do is we're gonna hold the Alt key down on all of these different skills that we got. Um, and we're gonna touch that one, that one, that one. So give that a save. All right, so now we just kind of cleaned up our HTML on that side, and this is the proper way of giving that what it needs. Um, and let's keep on moving on. So we got our H5, and if you wanted to be more specific, I would highly recommend, like in your guys' project, to continue to be more specific and to put that stuff on the way it's supposed to be done. Um, we're just calling out H5 project. Zero, and then we go on margin left. And like I was showing you before, for mobile responsive, you're going to want to put that to a margin block start or a margin, no, margin inline start. That is why it was not working before because your inline is left and right and your block is top block. It didn't move. So if I were to go margin block start there, it moved. That's why it wasn't working before. And I apologize it took so long. It's probably been days now because I've just been rambling here. But that is the difference. Okay, it just wasn't coming to my mind. Anyway, yes, your block is going to be your top, your bottom, your margin inline is going to be your left and your right. So block start, block end, inline start, inline end. Okay, we're just using margin left because that was old school CSS and uh, not a um, anyway. And again, I'm strongly encouraging you to, as we go through this, not just type this out as fast as I am, but to honestly go back and be like, okay, what does this HR class, where is this thing found? Finding the needle in the haystack, seeing what the class HR is being applied to multiple HR elements, putting the style on every single one of them as we're just flying along here. Okay, which H5? Why H5? What project descendant H5, right? Like class, like I want like just to look up like where are we grabbing the S at? Okay, why are we manipulating these Flexbox containers within each skill card? Why, and then within the card, what are we manipulating on the inside of that? Really going through, getting your hands absolutely dirty and just really understanding this because that's the way you're going to be a developer. And without that experience, and if you're just following along, that's good. It is. It's better than just uh it's better than just watching the video, but where you're gonna want to do it, and it's like using that chat GPT, uh, you gotta understand completely what ChatGPT is telling you. If there's something in there that you don't understand, you absolutely, and I'm not exaggerating, you absolutely have to go in there and you have to understand every single step of the way. And if you skip any of those steps, something 10 steps down the road isn't going to make any sense. And you're going to sit there and you're going to try to figure that out. And it's not going to make any sense until you actually go back and do it, right? It's not fun. Like it is, but it isn't, because it will absolutely kick your butt at times. And um, yeah, it's just something that you have to get through. So that's just the way it goes. Sorry about that. I'm just looking up what we need to do here because I thought I skipped something and I did. So this is giving me some trouble, it looks like. I don't know why, but it looks like it is. Again, we're just using that shorthand because I was just trying to slide through this project and the making of it, and it was simple enough that I knew that with as much as I'd like to ramble about some of these different topics, would already be enough uh, for you guys. So, nonetheless, I appreciate you guys sticking around this long with me if you um, actually have. And yeah, we're just gonna keep on hitting hitting all this as we're going along here. Again, I apologize about the audio. I have a heater going on in the background because without it, I'd be freezing cold. So um, I do have a pretty powerful microphone, but I just did this on the fly just to see what type of feedback I would get by making a video like this, and if people are actually interested in this and um, want to learn more, hit me up. That's what I'm here for. So I appreciate you guys um, giving me the time and the opportunity of being able to uh, share this with you guys. And nonetheless, we're gonna get this thing knocked out. So we are coming around the bend. I know that this has been a long one, but I just know, like for me in my learning path, the more content I was able to consume and the more projects I would have at the end of the day, just really helped me out. And like not having to go through things that have just like been updated 500,000 times, because that's never helpful when like 2 months later they release a video and then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm on version 16.1 and they're on version 16.13 and the entire thing is completely different. And this is just simple stuff. So right here, like this is just gonna work. And it's funny because something that I already have in this video and I just made this uh project like not less than a month ago. Um, it was like it's already deprecated. I was just like, oh my word. So it's just the way stuff works. But nonetheless, it's gonna work anyway. And if you want, then it just gives you a chance to go look up a deprecated piece of code and see what they would recommend for that anyway. And yeah, so this is gonna be uh this is gonna be cool. So okay, so notice how I have a max width here. So your max width is gonna this is gonna be clutch here for you guys. I don't know what's going on here, but I'll go back and I'll figure it out. So, this is so here, so you have 100%. So let me see here. So is this on the submit button? Hmm, Oh, it should be submit. Did I miss something? Indeed, I did. Okay, so I'm just gonna copy and paste this and give you guys enough time to be able to do this. So there you go. So you have your label, your type. This is for a submit button. Your ID is submit, and your value, that's actually going to be uh, this right here. So if I change this value to value, as you can see, but this is a inside of a form. So that's why we use this rather than using button, which I actually just realized that we didn't create a button, but I could do this. There you go. Look at that. Okay. But for this, we're doing this. And we're going to save it in there. So, but what this is saying is we're saying take up 100%. So how about we just do 100% here? Now what is it going to do? It's going to be the whole thing, right? Useful in some cases. In our case, we just want this right here. So we're saying the max width is 80 pixels. Take up 100%. Uh, that's why, right? So that's how that works. So there you go. So it just kind of gives you a little bit cleaner style. And yeah, these projects are obviously not working as we're just moving down this page. And I should have just probably fixed that right away. But yeah, nonetheless, we are going to uh, keep the ball rolling because we're making some progress here. Only a few more things to uh, take on, and then we're gonna go. So display block, and this is color, smoky one, whatever one, whatever it is. If you guys have any recommendations how I should do this, like shut up more or go into further detail more, let me know in the comments below. You know, if you liked it, I appreciate that. Um, and ultimately, I just hope that this helped you guys out. So, and then you guys got little profile, uh, a little starter profile for you guys yourselves. You know, so go out there, get it. And in this case, I guess I used HSL because I was just kind of feeling a little, yeah. So if these are like, if this is 0, 0, then I can just perform like a lightness on it is why, because I kind of like using like the white. So it's a little, makes it a little bit, uh, you know, a little bit. And then we got this hashtag arrow up, position. Yeah, fixed. And what that's going to do is that's actually going to fix it to screen. So I have an article on Medium that I'm actually going to refer to in a bit regarding the way that that works. So just bear with me and I will refer to my Medium article that I wrote. And with that, boom, it's going to fix it 10 pixels from the bottom, 10 pixels from the right, and right there, you are going to see that is why we do that. Now, the only thing that I see here is our skills container uh, not not working as it's supposed to be working. So let's just go back up here and we have our skills cards. Okay. And what did I do here? I obviously did something. Skills cards. I don't know why I duplicated these two things here, but I guess I did. Uh, that'll fix it. Okay. So yeah, everything else besides that looks good. So yeah, just little things like that can obviously make all the difference. And what we're going to do now is we're going to delete that 100 and we're going to go back up to our profile pic and we are going to delete this 100 or not. Um, so how did I do this? Did I actually do this in here? Just bear with me here for one moment. Oh, I did. Okay, funny. So yeah, I guess in the real one I did, I just threw this in here and I just left it. So that's something that you can do. Or a good challenge for you guys would be to actually go back into the CSS, find where you would place that image, maybe giving this image a class or an ID, calling on that class or an ID, and simply giving that a width of 300 pixels there. But nonetheless, I'm going to go ahead and call this project almost donezo. The last thing that we need and why we actually applied this smooth scroll behavior onto it, as you can see. So, uh, bada boom, bada bang. Um, Click here, does nothing, does nothing, does nothing. Okay, well, what the heck? So how about this? So remember those IDs that we created in each one of those sections? Notice how we have an ID of about and we have an ID of skills. So if you go about, scrolls to it. You go skills, scrolls to it. Okay. notice how we have an ID here of top. Okay, so we click here. Oops, we click here. Scrolls to it, right? That's supposed to be smooth. Oh, interesting that it isn't. ID area. Oh, let's show top because I think by default it just does that. So, and as you can see, that WP allows for the transparency behind the image. Let's go. Okay, so that's why. So anyway, so we applied it there. We applied it there, and notice how skills works. Projects doesn't work. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. Well, as soon as we put this here and we go here, boom, it works. That's awesome, huh? All right. Boom. Beautiful. And just like that, boys, we got ourselves a smooth scroll behavior. Now, regarding that Medium article that I was planning on referring to later on in this video, I think now would be a good time to refer to it because we're using some fixed position here. So if you want to follow me on Medium, you can feel free. If you don't want to, I understand. Um, but nonetheless, here, uh, pulling up this browser, and uh, any of you guys can tell me how Medium actually works. You can see here that I have CSS positioning. Ooh, son of a gun. Oh, where did it go? Be published. There it is. Okay, cool. So I have right here. So someone actually liked it. What do you know? All right. So as an entrepreneur and web developer, getting ideas to come to life online, whatever. Okay. So it's going to bring you through what the default classes are, um, what the default positioning is. That's static. I'm sorry, my brain. It's been a while. Okay. So yeah, you just move through this, and then you have absolute. You keep on rocking, you keep on rolling, you'll get down to position fixed. And you can throw these examples in here, mess around with them inside of your code, see why this right here is fixed on the screen the way that it is. What happens if maybe say you move this picture right here to an absolute, if this container right here had a position relative. So try it out. Put this container position, just throw an ID on there, select it, put it as relative, grab this, put an ID on there, put it as absolute, use top, left, right, bottom, and go try it out. So if you guys want to, you guys can go ahead and follow me. As you can see here, I'm a popular guy on this website. So nonetheless, this again, it's just a project for something that I was doing. Yeah, go ahead and get your hands dirty on that. Now, for the bonus round, and those of you who care, remember when we stuck this script tag on the bottom of this HTML um, document, you could have also taken the script tag and you could have thrown that puppy up here in the head, but nonetheless, they recommend to put it on the bottom for uh, all the good stuff. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with a little bit of JavaScript, but not to bog you down too much, because that's kind of outside of the scope of this video. But nonetheless, what it's going to do is it's going to make this populate and throw a card up here so that it sticks. Awesome. Okay, cool. So let's check this out. So if I go here, I go Lucas, I go Kelly, and I submit. What does that do? Literally nothing. All right, well, let's go in here. Remember this document that I was showing you before? All right, it's all making sense. So we're going to go query selector, and in our case, just like we would grab a class in CSS, we're going to grab a class just like that, right? And we're going to add event listener. And what this is going to do is this is going to ask us what event do we want it to listen to, and it's going to take a function. So the function right here is going to be um, just like so, right? And then outside here, just like that. So we're just going to declare this function. We could actually just clean this up and we could just make this an arrow function. Okay. And the reason that we can use arrow function here is because we're actually not using this. If we were not using this, um, and there's the deprecated code. I won't get into that yet. If we were using this, we wouldn't be able to use an arrow function here. We'd want older syntax, but nonetheless, we're not using that. So let's just go here. So let rec comes, okay, so equals document dot uh, query selector again. This is just grabbing one, okay, remember? And we got to put the class in there. That's how we're grabbing that. Okay, and this query selector, that's how we're grabbing it. And we're going here. And then we're just gonna copy and paste this a few times. And here, this is gonna be a recon. And here, this is gonna be a recon. And what this is doing is saving this to a variable. And we could actually just make this a const because we don't plan on having this change, right? I mean, you could totally do that if you want to. For this video, I'm gonna make a bit of a difference. And I just called this text C for text content, I'm assuming, but nonetheless, um, this is how I did it. And this one here, we're actually gonna go document, and we're gonna go get element by ID. That's why I like using this by ID, and we're gonna find the ID of message. So inside of these quotation marks, we're actually just following or we're finding the message. And then if we go that value at the end of it, remember we were talking about that earlier, it's actually going to grab a value that's inside of this. Because remember, if we put a value inside of this, it could have totally, like, that's the value, right? Like, this is the actual value. This is the actual value because that's a text node, right? So in this, we're saying, hey, grab this element, and now we're applying a method because this is valid syntax here. We're applying a method, and we're saying, grab the value of that bad boy, okay? And once you have the value of it, we're gonna append child, because remember how these nodes worked, in children, parents, and things like that. So in the uh, inside this, we're gonna apply this. Okay, so we're going to append that to the end of that document. And then we're actually going to go here and we're going to go class list and we're going to go add. And we're going to add a class list. And if you guys have any questions on this, you guys feel free to leave those in the comments and I can go into further detail on that. Or just feel free to refer to the um, documentation there. And that's your text content right there. Okay. So then at the end of this bad boy, we're going to alert and we're going to just say, hey, we're going to say thank you for your recommendation, right? I will review it within 24 hours, just like so. Cool. All right. Well, what the heck do we got going on here? So we got an optional name, and my name is Lucas, and uh, awesome job! Explanation point. Well, how you doing? The submit is going to work because it's on the form. Okay, and as you can see, it did absolutely nothing. Why? Because the last thing that we need to do is we need to prevent the default behavior from triggering. So even though this is deprecated, this will actually allow it to work. Just going back here, and we're going to say great. Okay, so we'll submit that, and it did absolutely nothing. Okay, where did we go wrong? I can tell you that right now, what we did wrong is we actually just threw this function inside of this because I was trying to give you guys an example of what to do here. And instead, to try to not make this even more confusing, we're actually going to invoke this function um, like so. And we're going to just use this old syntax so that we know it works. And we're going to say hello and submit. Boom. There it is. Now it works. Okay. So sorry about that. I guess that arrow function wasn't going to work there. Um, old methods, et cetera, et cetera. If you know why, let me know in the comments. But nonetheless, I'll figure that out later. Okay. So you hit OK, and then boom. Now leaves a review. That is so cool. So you can go in here and say customer. Okay. And then this is a positive review. And just like that, you made your website programmatic. Awesome. So thank you for listening to me ramble on about the way that I designed and built this project that was focused heavily on HTML, but nonetheless, got into some CSS concepts. And if you guys have any questions or would like to see some more videos, leave those comments below. Thanks. Have a great day.